Alright, welcome everyone. My name is K. Michael Russell. I am a comic book colorist. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So in this video today, I'm going to be doing part 7 of How Not to Color Comics. This is my favorite playlist, and it's the most popular playlist I have on my channel. So you guys like it too. And in the video today, we're going to be talking about 2D rendering in a 3D world. Okay, I guess is what we're going to call it. So I've got a couple of example pieces here that I want to use to illustrate a few examples. So I've got this page from Cyberforce Artifacts number 0. I have this pinup that I did by Joe Eisma, and I've got this image, which I know you guys have seen probably if you've been around very long, from Pensacon by Jason Scott Craig. So what I want to talk about is when people don't consider the 3D aspects of an object when you're rendering it. Okay, starting off with the lighting on this page. So let me get a new layer here, and I'm going to make this something really different so this you guys can follow. Yep, we can see that. All right, so for example, looking at this character's hair, this blonde character's hair. Okay, in both of these panels, this is pretty much the same angle here. In both of these panels, the lighting is coming from the top, okay? And what I see a lot of beginner colorists do is they'll know, okay, the lighting is coming from the top, I should render on the top. And they'll kind of do this number along here somewhere, okay? And that's their rendering color. It's not taking into account the shape of the object, okay? Because even when it's being lighted from the top, yes, the top's going to be the brightest part, but it's not going to be the only thing that's lit. I mean, because if you think about it, here's how I sort of look at rendering. If I'm the camera, okay, if I'm the camera up here and I'm looking down, what am I saying? I'm looking down. All right, what am I going to see? If I'm looking at the top of her head, what am I going to see? I'm going to see, obviously this here is going to be the brightest, but I'm still going to see what's happening down here. It's just not going to be quite as bright. And that's why you can see as I trail off away from the light source and it's curving back around, it's getting dimmer and dimmer. Because I'm seeing this at almost a dead-on, perpendicular angle, whereas here it's at a slant. You know what I mean? So I'm looking at it going away. So the lighting is not dead-on hitting that, and so I'm just getting a little bit of light down there. Okay, and you can see that in other places. Let's see on this page here, like even in her hair here. You know, the light is sort of coming, from an angle about like this. I'm not just lighting along the edges here. These things have thickness, okay? So these things have mass, okay? So it's not just going to be lit from the side. I'm going to see all of this space all the way around to the side. Now, of course, you get further down, you're not going to see any light, which is why there's no rendering down here. But I see this a lot especially with hair or things where, it's broken up into little sections like this, the hair is. Yes, you have to think of each one separately, but you also have to think of the entire thing as a whole. So you can really see this. I'm not rendering the same strand the same exact way each time, okay? These that are facing the light source, about half of those little clumps of hair are rendered. This one's going away, it's a little bit less. This one's going away even more, it's even less. This one barely got any light at all. So I'm not just thinking, I'm going to color this the same way as this, the same way as this, the same way as this, and this, and this. Well, then it doesn't make sense anymore. The lighting doesn't make sense. So yes, you have to think of each individual area, but you also have to take the whole thing into account. Hopefully that makes sense. Another example here with Jubilee. So think about where these things are in space, these little firecracker things she's firing off here, okay? They're not just to her right, they're in front of her, okay? So she's doing this, and the fireworks are in front of her face. Again, a lot of colorists will make the mistake of thinking, okay, it's on her right, so I'm going to render the right, okay? Well, that's not really how it's going to work, right? So if I'm the firework, again, think of yourself, put yourself, you are the firework. You're looking back at Jubilee. Are you just going to see this little edge? No, you're going to see her entire face, okay? Which is why her entire face is lit. And even within her face, of course, you've got other areas that I've highlighted that, facing different planes and that sort of thing. It gets a little advanced probably for today. But look at her jacket, for example. I'm not just lighting along this edge, right? the entire front surface basically of this jacket in places is rendered, and it's brighter of course on the side facing the light source basically. And last example, we've got the, let me back this up for those of you who haven't seen it. I've got this big moon kind of in the background, but it's also the sky, so the entire sky is lighting this scene here. So I'm going to give you two examples of something that's going on here. Okay, one, I've got my moon light source, and again, to beat a dead horse today, I'm not just lighting, let me put this on top of that. I'm not just lighting the edges, right? I'm not just lighting what's facing the light source. I've got the brightest points on the top, but all of this is being affected by that blue, even down here, and it gets a little bit less down here. But his entire back has a little bit of that blue from it, and then there are spots where the lighting is the most bright. Now, while we're on the subject of lighting skin and those sort of things, you'll notice that you could get, like, if you've got a cue ball or something really shiny. I've noticed this during football games before on the helmets. If you ever get a light that is on top of something, and let's say that let me draw this out so you guys don't have to, or I could just do camera work. Here we go. All right, so let's say I don't have something round, but let's say that this is a cue ball, okay? If the light's coming from the top, I'm not just going to see a little spot of light at the top. It's actually going to be down a little bit and facing me. The brightest part of that cue ball is actually not going to be at the very top, but it's going to be coming a little bit down on the ball because it's reflecting back to my eye. Okay, so if this is my cue ball, and let's say the light source is dead on from the top, the brightest spot that I'm going to see if I'm standing right in front of this, if I'm looking at this the way it is here, the brightest spot is not going to be here. It's going to be somewhere around here, because if we look at this from the side, okay, so it's a cue ball, so it's going to be the same both ways, but let's turn this to the side now. All right, so my light source is here, and I'm going to stand right here. Okay, that's my face. It's a terrible face. There we go. I'm not going to see a bright spot here. The light's going to be hitting this from the top, and it's going to be reflecting back to me. Okay, and the brightest spot is actually going to be about right here. Okay, and that's why on places like this arm here, it's not just the brightest edge at the top that's being colored by that, but it's actually bouncing off of that and coming back to my eye a little bit further down. Okay, why is that not letting me do that? Okay, there we go. So that's why you get these little spots that are not quite along the edge where the light is. It's actually going toward the reader's eye. Okay, so again, I'm not going to light the lightest part here. I'm going to light it where it's facing the light source. Okay, hopefully that makes sense, because this stuff gets really in depth. And but you can kind of see how that works on him. Now there is a edge light, I guess you could say, on both of these figures. Here, along the edge of the octopus here. Well, why is that? It's because the light source is behind them. Okay, that's the one scenario, they call that rim lighting. That's the one scenario where the light is only going to catch the edge. So if my light is behind the arm, only that edge is going to come across here, okay? Or only the edge is going to be seen here. That light's not reaching all of these areas back here. So when you're rendering something, keep those things in mind. And when, to give you guys one more example, and I've used this before on a different piece, but let's say that I've got a rectangular cubish sort of shape here, something like this, and my light is facing it dead on from the front, so it's sort of at this sort of angle. I'm trying to give the arrow some depth also. So it's facing dead on at it. Just think about that. It's not going to only be reaching these edges, right? Yes, it's on the right, but it's facing the entire plane. So that entire plane is going to be lit, right? Now this side might get a little bit less, this side might get none at all. So don't just think in terms of my light is to the right of my object. Put both objects in space and figure out where your light's going to go from there. You know, you can see this on the ninja guys that are dead back here in the background. You know, yes, the the fireworks are above them, but they're above them and in front of them. So you're going to get this toward the front as well, not just on the top. So that is a really, really common mistake that I see all the time when I'm critiquing new students' work or people that send me work in from here. So keep that in mind. Always think in 3D when you're rendering all the time. And as always, hope you guys enjoy the video. Be sure to check the link in the description for my coloring course, and subscribe to the channel and give me a thumbs up and all that fun stuff I always ask you guys to do. As always, thanks for watching. Have a good one.